Welcome to another episode of Marketers Talking. Today, we're joined by Mark. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I live in Austin, Texas. I own a video production company called Mosaic Media Films. We create videos for businesses and brands that want to connect with their clients through the power of video content.
Awesome. I feel like video is still the hottest topic for 2024, especially when it comes to companies of all sizes and connecting with their audience in what can feel like a more human way. It seems like, from my perspective at least, that a lot of companies, though, miss out on why they're doing the story or why they're doing the video, telling the story, kind of building that narrative. And I see just a ton of video content everywhere that's just like short little clips that are disconnected.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think businesses, there's a huge missed opportunity not to create a narrative storytelling about their business, who they are, what they do, what makes them uniquely different. It's really fascinating because I have a series of educational videos and I call out a couple industries. You know, like if you're a home builder, if you're in the tech industry, you know, if you're in the health and fitness industry, do a quick Google search, like if you're a customer, like, you know, and find out who's doing video. And the chances are on the top page, you'll be lucky if you find one competitor that's using video. And the one or two that maybe are, they're very kind of do it yourself, kind of janky, where our style is like people are getting into your brand. So they want that professional presence if they're looking for a professional service, whether it's B2B or B2C. And so we create these narrative stories, you know, that get the user, the viewer, to really get an understanding of who the company is, what they're all about, how they're going to solve that problem. And you kind of get to know them before you know them. And that's what makes it so powerful when it's professionally done and when it's done in a storytelling format that gets that human connection, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I think you're touching on something too that people might not be thinking about is professionally done. It's worth, in my opinion, having done video at many companies and having worked with almost always worked with production houses externally, it's an investment. It's definitely an investment with an ROI versus something to like quickly shoot in your garage or the back office. Yeah. It feels like one of those things that's really worth the time to do right.
Yeah, I mean, I often say the best strategy is kind of a two-pronged approach. So if your strategy is we're going to create a lot of educational content and be a thought leader, that kind of do-it-yourself with your cell phone can work really well because it's native to social media and people are used to seeing that. However, when they click on that ad or they do a search or that you get a referral and they enter into your brand and they go to your website as your main marketing hub, that's where that powerful brand story video that's professionally produced is going to be the most effective. So when we create this brand story for clients, it's usually something that they have professionally done with a company like us. And you really don't need to update it for like 5 years. We have one company that we worked with, the Austin Shoe Hospital. And this is so hysterical because I was literally talking to a customer last week and they said, she says, I'm looking at your website. And she's like, I really like this Austin Shoe Hospital video. Can you do something like that for us? That's kind of what I was thinking. And I'm like, you know, what's funny is that video was done 13 years ago and they still use it. And the customers still look at it and they're like, we want that. So that just goes to show you when you have a company that professionally produces it for you and it becomes that brand story video, it's something that you can have for a really long time without having to, you know, redo it. So like you said, it's got them a huge ROI and it's, you know, continues to be beneficial today.
That's awesome. Do you find a lot of people when they come to you to work on a video, are they arriving with their story already put together, or do they come with kind of the objective and they need your help really crafting it?
Yeah, great question. It usually depends on how they found out about us and where they're kind of are in the process. So I'd say it's usually 50-50 split. You know, people will come with, hey, we have a project in mind. We saw your work. Tell us a little bit more about the process, what your thoughts are. And then other people that are like, we're kind of thinking about video, but this is what we're kind of thinking, but we're open to suggestions. Either way, it's fun because we can explore kind of creativity. I usually try to get a holistic view on like what they're doing for marketing. What is the goal they want the video to be? And then we can kind of talk about the creative later on because it really starts with kind of the end in mind. What are your goals and objectives? How are you doing your marketing? What's working? What's not working? And tell me a little bit about your audience. So we're creating the right type of video for the right audience in the right place. And that will then kind of tell us how we're going to creatively have an angle that's going to connect with the audience and have a video that's very evergreen for them, or a series of videos that will be evergreen for them, rather than trying to constantly create content and it being a massive expense over time.
Now, if someone is listening and they're thinking, we really need to invest more in professional video that's this type, where it's telling that story. And I mean, having a video for 13 years, amazing for that still to be usable and relevant. What advice would you give them before they start out on the video creation journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's actually a really good quiz that I've developed that will help kind of get started before you reach out to a production company. And if you go to mosaicmediafilms.com/resources, there's a little quiz there. It basically is asking you, are you a B2B? Are you a B2C? How do you, are you selling services or products? And then it asks like, what is your top primary marketing? And it'll spit out basically, here's the videos we'd recommend. Because usually it's not one video, it's typically a series of videos. And depending on your dynamic of your business and what you're selling and how you're marketing is going to dictate what types of videos you should be thinking about, particularly that are higher produced content that you can have for 3, 5+ years.
Yeah, that is awesome. I feel like oftentimes getting started is the hardest part of these.
Yeah.
And we'll put all the links in the notes below too.
Yeah. And so basically that's a good start to just get a sense of like, okay, I'm a B2B company. We sell services. Here's the 3 types of videos that they'd recommend. Here's kind of what they're typically about. Here's how I could use and leverage them. And that will kind of give you a good starting point to kind of wrap your head around, doing the right things in the right way. But obviously, talking to someone one-on-one for your unique situation is obviously better, but that's a great starting point to give you that foundational information.
Cool. What does the timeline typically look like from when someone decides to do video to starting to look for production partners to actually having that finished product they can use?
Yeah, I mean, typically for us, when we work with clients, it's about a 4 to 6 week process from the point where we start to the point where it's completely done in their hands, ready to market. We've been in scenarios where we've got it done in less than a week, where we've had people call us and they're like, we've got the shoot, we're filming on Monday, we'd love to have it done by Friday. So we've like planned everything, we do the filming, and then we just hit the ground running with the editing and prioritize it so it's done and wrapped, within the time frame they want. But on average, about 4 to 6 weeks gives you enough time to kind of plan, map out all the logistics for filming, execute on a filming day, and then go through the process needed to editing and additional revisions until the video is finally approved.
So once the video is produced, you said revision. So the customer is watching it and then they're coming back with feedback. Is there anything they can do to better work with their production partner on having that feedback iteration cycle?
I mean, the way that we like to do it and we found the most effective is we use what we call review software, and we use a software tool called Frame.io. The best thing to do is basically get everyone on your team in a room, collaborating together, reviewing the video, consolidate all those changes. And then once they're done, then send it over to the production company to do it all in once, and then go through that process essentially 2 times. What typically slows the process down is when there's a lot of like people involved and they all have different ideas and they're all commenting, so it's like, well, we should, use the new colors and fonts. Well, we can't use that because it's not going to be done for another 6 to 8 months. And they're going back and forth with changes. It's kind of like collectively get together, decide on what you want to be done as a team, and then tell the production company in a review software. So it's very clear. And then it'll speed up the process when finalizing the project and the revisions.
I imagine that happens quite often where internally there's a bunch of stakeholders going with different thoughts and perspectives.
Yeah, and we try to be the mediator as much as possible and try to provide some guidance and support when that does happen, because sometimes they'll lean on us and say, well, what do you recommend? Will this be easy or so on? And we can, provide some insight.
If someone is starting to do this and they're thinking of making, let's say, 3 videos to help tell that story, is there a budget they can expect to receive as the quotes when they collect them?
Yeah, if you're looking to do 3 videos, it all depends on what type of videos you want, right? So it's kind of like, someone says, I want a car. Well, what kind of car? Do you want a compact? Do you want a truck? Do you want an SUV? You want a luxury vehicle? There's just so many different options. So that's kind of like how it is with video. On average, if you have a budget between $4,000 to $10,000, you can get a pretty sizable amount of videos with that content. Now, typically the way that we do it is we have essentially your brand story video, and that brand story video is the heaviest lift. It's the one that you're going to have for 5+ years. And that's going to be usually the most expensive cost per video. Now, once we're there, what we like to suggest is we can get, in your brand story video, we'll get a customer testimonial, but it's really only going to be about 30 seconds in that 2-minute video. So what we do is we can have that extended conversation with them, and we can make a dedicated customer testimonial video that's like 90 seconds. So we're really maximizing the shoot so we can create a lot of additional content for a fraction of the cost of that main video, because we're taking a lot of the same footage. We're, showing more of the content that didn't make the cut in that main video. So we can create social video content. We can create testimonials. We can, do service specific videos. And of course, that main brand story video where everything kind of pulls from.
Oh, I love a video case study. I feel like not enough brands do them.
Yeah. And then, it's the most powerful video, and that equally has as much, longevity as a brand story, because what someone says today and 5 years ago is typically still relevant based on the business. So testimonials or case study videos or customer stories, they're so powerful because they're like provide social proof. They show a transformational change. You can use it for a sales tool to overcome objections. And you can kind of take that one video and you can cut it into so many different ways. And we create micro stories from it, vertical stories. They can be used for sales enablement. It's just so, so powerful how you can take, essentially a 20-minute interview and get so much video content from it and use it in a variety of different ways to help, reach those marketing and sales goals.
Are there other types of videos you think people don't leverage enough?
I think the most is the customer testimonial by a landslide. They don't leverage it nearly enough. The second thing that I see people do, like when we create this kind of high-end brand story video, I see a lot where they just put it on their website, and they need to be thinking about it a lot more than just their website. So put it on business cards in your QR code, put it in your email signature, have it on everyone's LinkedIn post. When you put flyers and mailers out, you're putting it on there. You're using it and leveraging it on your YouTube channel, on your About Us page, and several different areas that you're marketing from, because that brand story becomes kind of your elevator pitch. It's the who you are, what you do, what makes you uniquely different. It can be leveraged in so many different ways. And I see people just limiting themselves by just putting it on their homepage. And even worse, they'll put it on the bottom instead of the top above the fold. So having it front and center and having that being your highest viewed page is super powerful. So one quick case study on that note. So the Austin Shoe Hospital, I mentioned them earlier. They've had the video for 13 years. When they first launched it, they put it on a citation listing, which is like your Yelp and your Upcity and your things like that. So they put it on there, and they got a 64% increase in call volume. And that was just one thing. So like I said, if you put it on all these different areas and it becomes your elevator pitch, you're just going to increase the probability of that story connecting with more people and increasing your conversion.
Well, you mentioned earlier also some industries where I feel like we rarely see video included, like plumbing. Yeah. If I'm looking for a local plumber, I rarely will see a video, but if I do, and it's maybe a customer testimonial, as you're saying, or the story of, I feel like typically plumbing companies are family owned for multiple generations. It feels so much more human and more tied to than someone who's like, I can fix it.
Yeah. And it's interesting because we've done a video for a plumbing company, and one of the testimonials in that brand story was like, she's like, you're just trusting someone to do the job right because everything is behind the walls and you can't see it, right? It's not like my cabinets or my countertops where you can see the craftsmanship. So it's a lot of trust in that particular industry to get it done right, because if something goes wrong and there's a pipe that bursts or something like that, it's behind the walls and you have water going everywhere, that is a hot mess.
Yeah.
So it's a huge point of differentiation in that industry, and among others, to have a video that's professionally done, that tells that story, that has those testimonials, because most people are not doing it and they're not doing it right. And also it it also gives a higher perceived value. It's like we've all had the experience of going to a website and just clicking off right away because it looks super sketchy. Whereas if you go to a website, it's professionally branded, it's got a professional video. There's this kind of subconscious feeling that like, okay, they've invested in their company. These people are legit. I can trust them. And it just adds a higher perceived value.
Yeah. Who should star in the videos if it's not a customer testimonial?
Mm-hmm.
Should it be the executive? Should it be the day-to-day workers that someone might interact with?
Yeah, so it depends on how the dynamic of the brand is set up. So oftentimes we'll do kind of documentary style narration. So we're just kind of casually interviewing people. It's usually the CEO, the owner, the founder, the CMO, or some core people that are on the team that we're interviewing that kind of talk about the business and the problems that they solve for people. And the reason why we do that is because it comes off in a very authentic way, because we're just asking them questions, almost like if we were having coffee together. And they can kind of talk about like, what do they do? Why do they enjoy doing it? What are you passionate about? Tell me about your process. And it's kind of educating the customer, but it's also like, again, giving that human connection. They get to know you before they actually know you. And it's nice to have like a face behind the brand that's the founder, owner, CEO, and the people that they're going to be interacting with in some form or fashion. So it's really, a powerful way to create authenticity for your company.
I feel like on the B2B side, I've been seeing more companies who are doing the story of their growth, the story of them launching, the story of like raising another round of funding. Yeah. And it almost feels like to be competitive in the B2B landscape today, you almost need to take that media company approach to some of what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen a lot of that too. Not only the growth, but we've been doing a lot of history videos for companies. We're working on one right now for a manufacturing firm, and it's like a long form history video that talks about the growth of the company, how they've changed ownerships, where they came from. And it's really, really powerful. And we've done dedicated videos like that show the growth of the company, both kind of where they've been, where they're at now, and what their future looks like. And we've also done kind of more history inserts where we tell that brand story, and it's a small little portion where they talk about where they came from. And again, it just makes a little bit more of connection where they feel like they know the people that they're going to be interacting with, whether it's, a manufacturing company, whether it's a restaurant or anything in between. Knowing that about the company gives you a little bit more of a connection, and that can be really powerful.
When it comes to video creation, a thing that I hear come up in conversation a lot too is, should I do my video in vertical format, horizontal, 1x1? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of it depends on what is your overall marketing strategy and what content are you actually creating, right? So if you're doing your brand story video, that's really got to be the traditional 19x16. You're going to put it on, your landing pages, your homepage, web, YouTube, and so on. It's not really the right duration and format for vertical, which is more short form, sub 90-second length. However, if you're creating educational content and you're just trying to provide value, like the quick tip or strategy, or smaller sound bites from a longer form podcast or longer form educational video, that's where you want to do it in vertical. What I always recommend is do everything in horizontal, and then you can convert to vertical, but be mindful of it. So for instance, when I'm creating educational content about like how to use and leverage video online and how to market it and why you should be using it, I always record it in a 16:9 standard size. And then my editing team will convert that video to a vertical and a 1x1 when we're actually deploying it. So you can have your LinkedIn and Facebook with the 1x1. You can do your vertical for Instagram and TikTok, and then and YouTube Shorts, and then you can do your 16:9 for your website, landing page, and YouTube. So it really just depends on the type of content that you're doing. So when we work with clients and we know specifically this is going to be for social, we'll create it in 2 to 3 different formats: your 1x1, your 16:9, and your vertical, which is the 9x16.
Awesome. Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining us today. If anyone's listening and they want to connect with you or work with you, where do they go?
Yeah, you can just go to our website at mosaicmediafilms.com. There's some great free resources if you're thinking about video, whether you want a downloadable, PDF, a quiz, or other great content. You can go to our resource page, or of course you can reach out and we can have a one-on-one strategy session.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us, and we'll see everyone on the next episode.